All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I want to welcome you and congratulate you on your acceptance to SU. As I said, I am Dr. Desjardins. I am the director of the undergraduate program in our CSD department here. I am also a clinical audiologist, and I have my PhD in audiology. So you guys picked a very good profession to get into. So we're going to kind of start with that. So I know this might seem kind of far in the future, but one day you'll be looking for a job to start your career. And the job outlook in CSD for speech pathologists and audiologists is very good. So if you look at these kind of, to make sense of these graphs a little bit, all occupations have a projected growth of about 4%. But for our fields of speech pathology and audiology, we have job growth expectations for about 13% for audiologists and 25% for speech language pathologists. And that's really good. Okay, so those are really good numbers. That means that when you go to find a job, it will be easy for you to find a job and you'll be in high demand. And that's primarily due to the fact that our society is aging. So we're getting a lot older, and a lot of older adults have communication difficulties, and also due to the fact that there's larger numbers of children who are on the autism spectrum, also increasing our caseloads. So at SU, we have actually 8 programs in our CSD department. 3 of them are undergraduate related programs. So we offer a bachelor's degree in CSD. Okay, wait, we have a couple of people who, okay, so thank you if you're just joining us and you didn't really miss anything. So I'm Dr. Desjardins. And I am just starting to talk about our program here. And as I said to the other students before, if you have any questions, you can just ask them as we go along. Just feel free to unmute yourself and ask. And I will save time. There'll be plenty of time for questions at the end as well, okay? So I was just going through our programs that we have in CSD at SU. So in our CSD department, we have 8 programs, 3 are undergraduate. So we have a BS in CSD. We also offer a 4+1 program, which is a combined bachelor's and master's in speech language pathology. So you graduate after 5 years and you have both a bachelor's and a master's degree. And we have a minor in CSD, which would prepare you to apply for graduate programs. It would give you the prereqs that you need to go to graduate school for speech pathology or audiology. And then we also have all of our graduate programs too. So that's a bit of a ways off for you guys, but we have our master's in speech language pathology. We have our AUD for audiology, we have an AUD PhD, and then we have PhD programs in speech pathology and audiology. Okay, oh, so what's going on here? Okay. Our programs are ranked very highly by US News World Report, which ranks academic programs in the US. Our speech pathology program is in the top 12% of nationally ranked programs, and our audiology program is in the top 34% of nationally ranked programs. And in addition to our top programs, we also have a really strong alumni connection at SU, which I think is true for most departments at SU in general. They tend to, produce like lifelong Orange fans and strong alumni, which when, again, you go out for getting jobs or getting into graduate school or internships, things like that, it does make it a bit easier because you have this Orange connection that you can kind of rely on. In addition to our top ranked programs and our alumni network, some of the other advantages of a CSD degree program at SU has to do with the fact that we do have these 3 undergraduate programs, the BS, the BS-MS, and our minor in CSD. We also give you opportunities to participate in research, which I'll talk more about. I'm going to talk more about all of these things in a minute. And we have actual clinical opportunities for all of our undergraduate students. So let's start with our program. So I know this looks like probably a lot and a little overwhelming, but these are the classes that are included as part of the major in CSD. So it's a total of 34 credits. And these classes start with just our general like introductory class to CSD, which is our intro class, CSD 212. That's a class that you would take usually fall semester of your freshman year, if you know that you want to actually do CSD. You could also take it spring semester of freshman year as well. And that will give you like an overview to pretty much everything that like a speech pathologist or an audiologist does. So it takes you through all of like our patient populations, all of the disorders, all of like our like sort of general science. So it's kind of like a survey of everything. And it provides you like a really nice class to kind of just confirm that, yes, this is something that I'm very interested in and I want to continue in this. So it gives you like a really good overview. You take generally like 1 to 2 CSD classes per semester for our regular bachelor's program from the time you're a freshman to you're a senior. And like I said, you start with the survey and then you get into the kind of like basic sciences in CSD. So anatomy and physiology, you learn about phonetics, you learn about hearing science, language development. And then as you progress in the program, you start getting more focused on like applying those topics to actual patients. So you start to learn about disorders, you start to learn about how to become a clinician, and you end the program with actually having a client in our clinic, which I'll talk about again in a minute. Some of our students, it's pretty common that they will perhaps do a double major. They'll do an integrated learning major. It's called an ILM, or they will have a minor. You don't have to do any of those, but it's something that a lot of our students take advantage. So if you are interested in doing that, you can set up your program so that you are able to double major or do a minor or an integrated learning major. Some of the most common ones I've listed here are psychology, education, gerontology, neuroscience, Spanish, but you could, in theory, pretty much double major or minor in anything. These are just some complementary programs that are, I guess, more popular with some of our students. We also have our 4+1 program at SU, which is pretty unique to Syracuse in that you can get both a bachelor's and a master's at the end of 5 years. So the 4+1 program combines your undergraduate degree and your graduate degree in speech pathology. So you do have to want to actually become a speech pathologist. So this would not be for somebody who is interested in audiology. So if this is a program that you are interested in, once you get to SU in the fall of your freshman year, you will send me an email and we'll meet one-on-one and talk more specifically about the program and the requirements and change your advising a little bit so that you're on track to meet the requirements for the 4+1. which is a little bit different than our bachelor's program. So the 4+1, obviously you're going to finish in 5 years with a master's, so it's more accelerated. You do have to take more classes a semester. Students will become on the 4+1 track their freshman year, and they will actually apply to enter the program officially in their junior year. These are some of the program requirements, but like I said, if this is something that you are considering doing, again, we'll meet one-on-one and we can talk all about the program. But just one more note about it. It doesn't fit everybody's needs. So it's a great, opportunity for people who it's a good fit for. So you have to know that you want to be an SLP. You also have to think about the fact that you would be taking, more CSDs each semester. So if you had, let's say you were playing a sport or you were involved in a bunch of extracurriculars, it might be a little bit more difficult to do. That being said, most of our students in the 4+1 program, they do do a lot of extracurriculars. They still do a double major and things like that. And you can still go abroad. So you can still do all that stuff, but it is definitely a little bit faster paced in terms of how you take the classes. Okay. All right, so before we move on to participating in research, let me just go back one sec to talking about our programs. I do want to say that our undergraduate programs, they do prepare you very well for your ultimate goal, which is to get into graduate school. So for CSD, to become a speech pathologist or an audiologist, you do need a graduate degree. And our undergraduate program is really focused on preparing you for graduate school and to help maximize your performance once you get into graduate school so that you can then become a certified speech language pathologist or an audiologist. Okay, all right, so now I'm going to move on to one of our other really nice kind of perks of our CSD program at SU. And that is your ability to participate in research as an undergraduate student. So we have 8 research labs in our department. So here are some of them: stuttering, voice, speech sound disorders, language. There's also bilingual language, aphasia, pediatric audiology. We have a hearing aid lab, and also another audiology lab focused on evoked potentials. So students can participate in research in a variety of different ways. You could choose to just volunteer. You could do an independent study. So you could use one of like your elective credits to participate in research. You could do an honors thesis through the Renee Crown Honors Program at SU. No matter how you do it, though, you can always apply for what we call these source grants. So source grants are grants for undergraduate students to conduct research. They're really nice in that they will fund your project, and you can also use those funds to pay yourself a stipend and to pay, let's say if you wanted to present your research at a conference, whether that's like a state conference or a national conference, which is ASHA, you can have money to travel. In addition to source funds for travel, our department actually has funds for undergraduate students to present research at conferences all across the country. Again, that's a really nice thing. It's exciting. It's a great thing to put on your resume for graduate school. So if you have an interest in that, that is something that we can accommodate here at SU. All right, so in addition to our programs and your research experiences, we also have the awesome Gebby Clinic at SU. So the Gebby Clinic is our on-campus speech, language, and hearing clinic. It's been here for a really long time. It was established in 1972, And in 2013, we moved, it got completely revamped and we moved across campus into a brand new building. And when we did that, they redesigned the clinic so that it's, it's brand new and it's custom designed to really maximize students' learning and also the clinical services that we provide. So at the Gebby Clinic, we offer a full range of speech, language, and hearing services to babies through very older adults. So we're a pretty popular clinic in the central New York community of Syracuse, and we serve a lot of patients. So as a student, you will have the opportunity as an undergraduate in this program to have a client. And every undergraduate is able to have a clinical experience in our CSD department at SU. Generally, the way it's structured, if you're on the traditional BS program, you will observe first for a semester in the clinic, usually either like spring of your junior year or fall of your senior year. And then the following semester, you would have a client for a semester. So you are supervised by an SLP or an audiologist, so you can have this experience in speech or hearing, depending on what your interests are. So you are supported the whole time, but you will have your own client, which is a really excellent opportunity. In the 4+1 program, you will have your client in the spring semester of your junior year. So here I just want to show you a few pictures of our clinic. So if you haven't visited campus yet, or even if you have and you missed seeing the clinic, wait, let me go back. This is our waiting room. So the tape and stuff was from COVID times, but we've since opened up a bit, so that's kind of gone. But this is where patients come in and they wait till they're called. And you can see where this red wall is, that starts the inner part of the clinic. Here's an example of a couple of different therapy rooms that we have. So this would be, this is an adult group therapy room. Oh, this keeps flicking here. This is behind the glass. So there's like a two-way mirror where when you're observing, you would sit and watch the students do therapy in the room. You can also watch therapy in a room that has a bunch of monitors. So all the rooms have audio and video recording as well. This is kind of a small picture cut off here. This is our one of our preschool rooms. There's a big mural on the wall here that's really pretty that you can't really see in this picture, but this is a little bit more fun. The adult rooms are a little bit more serious looking. This is an example of one of our audiology sound booths. So we have a few different sound booths in the audiology clinic. We have a all audiology clinic, including vestibular and evoked potentials and hearing aid rooms and all that kind of stuff. So this is where this is the student tester here. This is where she's sitting and the patient is behind the glass in the other part of the booth. That's our clinic. So in addition to all that, we also have some more opportunities for you as a student in the SU CSD program. And one of those is joining our student organization. So if you guys aren't familiar, ASHA is the American Speech, Language, and Hearing Association. That's our national credentialing organization. So when you become an SLP or an audiologist, you will be a member of ASHA and you get your certificate of clinical competence from ASHA. So we have a national chapter, student chapter of ASHA. It's called NSHLA on campus. And NSHLA is managed by students. So there's a whole governing student board with different levels of leadership. So you could, if you wanted to hold a leadership position, you could do something like that. You could just be a member. But our initial group is quite involved. So they put on different fundraisers related to supporting individuals with communication disorders. They also have social events. They do different health fairs and things like that. And they do these things throughout the year. So that's like a really nice group to become a part of. It also looks really good on your resume when you go to apply to graduate schools. And it's a good way to meet other CSD students as well. In addition to NISLA, you can also create your own student organization. So we had a group of students who they wanted to focus more on working with older adults. And they started a chapter of what's called the Brain Exercise Initiative, where they go to nursing homes in the Syracuse area, and they do kind of like these cognitive training exercises. So they have like a whole curriculum that they do. It's pretty neat. But they focus on like math problems, puzzles, word problems, things like that, to get older adults basically just kind of using their brain and keeping their brain active. So these students initiated this organization on their own. I'm actually the faculty rep for this group. But this is another group you could join, or like I said, you could create your own if there was something that you wanted to do that you didn't see that there was a group on campus that was currently doing. Okay. Last, I wanted to mention some of our other opportunities that we offer our students, which we call experiential learning. So experiential learning is kind of like when you get a chance to apply what you're doing in the classroom to sort of real life situations with real life people and clients. And I'm just highlighting a couple that we've done over the past year. So first we'll talk about this one that we did. This is actually last Friday. We had this Change and Impact Voices for Stuttering event. So we were fortunate to have Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. He's an NBA basketball player. He is a stutterer, and he started a foundation basically to bring awareness to the fact that a lot of insurances do not cover therapy for stuttering, and he is trying to change that. So we kind of partnered with him in sort of bringing awareness about this fact, and he came in and met and spoke with all of our students in the department about what it's like to have grown up stuttering. He talks all about how his speech pathologist, changed his life, and the next steps for his organization. So that was a really awesome event. He's a really great guy with a great message, and it was a wonderful opportunity for our students to be able to interact with him. And now they're also becoming more involved with his organization. So that was really neat. Our initial group put on the Apraxia Kids Walk for Apraxia event. We had done that one in the fall. So apraxia is it's a speech motor disorder. So it's a neurological condition that children have that basically their brain has trouble coordinating the different movements to move their articulators to make speech sounds. So they don't move their structures in like the correct order, and it makes it very difficult for them to get out their messages and to talk. So Praxia Kids is an organization dedicated to bringing awareness to this disorder and to the work that speech pathologists do in helping remediate it. And our local NISHLA put on a community event, and we had an Apraxia walk. That was a really nice event as well. And I'll just talk about two more things that we had done this year. We also introduced all of our students to treating complex trauma. So specifically talking about toxic stress and how it affects your brain. We had an expert in trauma and stress come and talk to our students about how to basically recognize when a child is in a stressed out state. So when you were really stressed out, and this applies for all of us, your brain kind of shuts down and you're not able to learn. And children who experience really traumatic events, children who are abused, children who are refugees from war, it actually creates lasting effects to your brain and could interrupt your ability to learn language, and also how you process auditory information. So as speech pathologists and audiologists, it's important for us not to actually treat the trauma, but we have to understand and kind of spot it so that we can know what our patients are going through or experiencing, and we can tailor our therapy to make sure that we're not re-traumatizing them and that we have what we call a trauma-informed approach to care. So that was another event that we did. And last this year, we also had an expert come in to talk about gender affirming voice therapy. So an individual who had started their own clinic focused on gender affirming therapy in Texas. So she's an expert in this area, and she talked about starting this up and the impact it had on individuals in her community, and some of the techniques that she used, she shared with us. So that was another great event that we had for our students. Okay, so I've been talking a lot. I want to open it up to questions now, or things that you want to share.